Until recently, portable gaming consoles were considered a thing of the past, reserved only for experiments by companies with a lot of money to burn and not many future prospects. Fast forward to February 2022, when Steam Deck took the gaming market by storm in a way very few anticipated. Valve's portable console reignited people's appetite for on-the-go gaming, perhaps even more than Nintendo's Switch. But Steam Deck runs SteamOS, which is just a glorified version of Linux with all the limitations imposed by the operating system. Thus, gamers wanted access to their entire library of games, not just the titles tested and validated by Valve. Sure, I'm being a bit negative now, and the truth is that gaming on Linux has changed a lot, and the major problems from the beginning no longer exist. But if you're a fan of retro games or like to spend your time in some obscure title only you've heard of, there are still slim chances to make it run properly on Linux. And here come the portable consoles running the venerable Windows, more versatile, more powerful, and more familiar to the average gamer. But they come with a big problem. Windows is not optimized to run properly on such systems. Microsoft's OS was not designed for this, and most manufacturers include their own software intended to make navigating through the game library and changing essential settings easier from the controller. But it's an inelegant approach that offers a different experience from brand to brand. By the way, the advantage of a Steam Deck in these conditions is exactly SteamOS, because it is a platform designed from the ground up for gaming, and it shows. The experience is more fluid, you don't have to jump through many menus and programs to change the game or lower the brightness, and it represents a better choice for those who want something plug and play, while on Windows you have to tweak everything to make it work. Regarding the quirks and limitations imposed by Windows for such a system, the first ROG Ally was a trailblazer, and although it was a success at launch, largely thanks to good performance and quality screen, it still came with significant shortcomings characteristic to a first-generation product. You can't get it right the first time, and since then, I hoped for an updated version that would at least partially resolve the shortcomings of the initial console. And lo and behold, it came. ROG Ally X is here, and just as its name suggests, it's not ROG Ally 2, meaning a completely new generation, but rather a serious upgrade in almost all areas that matter: battery, storage, RAM and connectivity. And performance itself has seen some improvements, not the ones most people expected, and we'll discuss why shortly. But until then, stay with me to see what's up with the new portable console from Republic of Gamers. First of all, I must mention that today's product is an engineering sample, so not a final version. Thus, I cannot provide exact values for FPS or temperatures, but we can discuss how it seemed to me during the time spent with it. However, it is worth mentioning that things may change at the official launch, and we will revisit Ally X with a full clip with all kinds of results at the right time. So, let's start with the news, because that's why we're here. The first and perhaps the most important of them is the battery, which received a massive capacity boost. And when I say massive, I mean it. You know how some phone manufacturers boast about batteries that are 10% larger than last year's? Well, Asus did not play around, and the Ally X battery is twice as large as the original Allies. Yes, you heard it right, twice as large. This translates into significantly superior autonomy and solves one of the main shortcomings of the original Ally. Very few complained about brute performance or the experience itself with the old console, but the big problem was that you couldn't enjoy your favorite games for too long without needing to connect to a socket. Even though on paper we have a battery twice as large, real-life autonomy increases by about 80%, which is not to be overlooked. Another area where we see a doubling is storage. Now the new console comes with a full 1TB SSD. Moreover, Asus chose to leave behind the old M2 2230 SSD standard in favor of M2 2280, a much more common standard, meaning you can find more SSD options for upgrade at a lower price. This is welcome for those who have many installed games and don't want to lack space. The next massive upgrade took place in the RAM memory department, and the total capacity jumps from 16 GB to 24. Even 16 GB wasn't little, but given that modern games demand more and more VRAM for the GPU, and the total amount is shared here between the processor and the video card, the boost is welcome and noticeable in all demanding AAA titles. I will never complain about too much RAM, there is no such thing, and everything from games to the general user experience feels better on the new model. The speed of the memory also helps, now increasing to 7500 MHz. So more and faster RAM, and in fact Li-X receives more of everything: battery, storage, memory. Another area that has seen significant improvements is design and ergonomics. At first glance, these changes don't seem too big, but I appreciated that the new Li-X has more rounded corners, making it easier and more comfortable to hold in hand. After a longer playtime, the old console could become painfully uncomfortable, so I'm glad to see the problem completely resolved. Also in the design chapter, we see another notable change, namely the color. The old Li came only in one color variant, a matte white that didn't look bad at all when the device was new, but attracted dirt quickly and required constant cleaning if you wanted to keep its immaculate appearance. Now the new Li-X is available again in only one color, but this time we're talking about black, which should withstand prolonged wear much better. I admitted that I liked the console more in white. It was closer to the specific ROG look, but clearly the fact that now the console is black is not a deal breaker. And the way you interact with games has been improved, and now Li-X comes with completely redesigned joysticks. They are more resistant, so you shouldn't have to worry about drift, and they are said to be easier to replace on the new model if the old ones break or if you want to switch to special joysticks with Hall effect sensors. The latter do not make contact to register an input and rely exclusively on magnets, so in theory they should be the most resistant of all. We don't have such from the box, but I'm glad to hear that it is easier than ever to make such an upgrade. And the A, B, X and Y buttons have been changed, and I noticed that now they are more precise, fast and pleasant to use. The tactile feedback you receive every time you press a button is better, as is the case with the back triggers, which now come with a more ergonomic shape and a stronger spring than the previous model. The macro buttons on the back have also been redesigned to be smaller, so harder to press accidentally during frantic gaming sessions. Nice! All these sound good, and I admit I was very excited when I first read the new console spec sheet about a month ago. But since then, I've wondered, how are the dimensions affected by all these upgrades, like the twice as large battery? Well, to my surprise, almost not at all. ROG Li-X is only about 10% heavier than the older model and insignificantly thicker. And if you don't have both consoles side by side to compare, you won't notice the differences. Li-X maintains the portability that many, including us, appreciated, which is not bad at all in a market where there is a Lenovo Legion Go, which is almost too large to carry around practically and lightly. Another notable plus is the replacement of the XG Mobile port with a much more versatile and useful Thunderbolt 4. On the old model, the XG Mobile port could only be used to connect an external video card, a use case in which not many owners find themselves, considering we are still talking about a portable console. Well, now you can not only connect a separate GPU as you could before, but you can make the most of the USB-C port for other things. You are no longer limited to just one, which was occupied anyway when you charged the console. Cooling also received some attention and was redesigned to accommodate the larger internal battery and reduce weight. Asus says that despite the fan blades being smaller, the airflow in the case is over 20% higher, which would reduce the temperatures felt on the display surface by up to 6 degrees, and I tend to believe them. I didn't think the old Li would overheat too much, but I noticed the temperature difference right at hand, so it's clear that the modifications are doing their job. Since so far, we've only talked about the new things brought by ROG Li-X, so it's time to discuss the things that have remained the same also, starting with the chipset. We still see the same AMD Z1 Extreme from the previous generation, mainly because AMD has not released something faster for now, so Asus had their hands somewhat tied here. It's not a bad chip, and in combination with more and faster RAM, there is a performance boost, but it's not a huge leap in FPS as some might have expected. That being said, the model I received for testing is an engineering sample, as I mentioned at the beginning, so the performance here is not final and can still change a bit until the official launch. This also means we can't give concrete FPS values or differences between the old and the new model. For that, we'll have to wait a bit until Asus sends us a final device. It is also worth mentioning that ROG Ally X is no longer available with the normal Z1 chip, without Extreme in the name, but that was not powerful enough to run modern AAA games well anyway, so I don't consider it a big loss. My first stop in gaming on ROG Ally X was Ghost of Tsushima, which recently received a successful port on PC, and I was able to enjoy it without any problems with settings on medium. It runs okay, and I didn't notice almost any stutter. The entire experience was as smooth and playable as possible. Things were similar with Cyberpunk 2077 with no lag issues. I tried to play both in 15W and 20W modes, and there is a noticeable performance difference, but with a higher battery cost. I recommend playing on the highest setting when you're at home and have an outlet nearby, but if you need to squeeze the last minute of gameplay from the console on a long flight, for example, you can do your job on the intermediate setting. Returning to things that have remained the same since last year, the display has not seen any modification. It's the same 1080p 120Hz 7-inch IPS panel with 500 nits brightness. I'm not complaining, and overall the screen quality is very good, with deep contrast for an IPS and pleasant colors. It's also fast enough, so navigation is a pleasure, and indie games that can run at higher frame rates will feel great. Well, and as we approach the end, I'd say it's hard to draw a conclusion without having the actual performance values in the equation. But for the sake of conversation, let's do a roundup of the added pluses. The twice as large battery is clearly in the spotlight, as are the improved storage and RAM. We have notable pluses in terms of ergonomics, and now you can play longer and more comfortably. But all these come at a price. At the launch last summer, the ROG Ally with Z1 Extreme cost $700 in the United States, while the new console with X in the name will have a starting price of $800, so $100 more. My opinion is that if you already have a nearly new ROG Ally, it doesn't make sense to make efforts and get this one. The performance is similar, and although the battery doesn't last as long, it still allows you to enjoy your favorite titles in good conditions for a few hours. But if you've been patient and didn't jump with your wallet at the first wave of portable consoles and now you want one, then ROG Ally X promises to be the most robust and complete option. It retains all the strengths of the old model, but brings many changes hard to ignore, even at a slightly higher price. And now, let's hear your thoughts in the comments. How does the idea of such a portable console with Windows appeal to you? Does this category of devices have a future for the masses, or do you think it's just a niche for enthusiasts, considering the generalist operating system and the rather high price? And that being said, thanks for watching, please subscribe to Techniqualities, and I wish you a warm good luck.